This is review 9, and we will be looking at imperialism and World War I. So what we're going to look at is the causes of imperialism. One of them that we've discussed last year in World War history was that white man's burden, that everything, it was the duty of the white man to spread civilization, to spread Christianity, this whole idea of social Darwinism, that they were the fittest of the races and that their culture should be spread around the world. The other thing is the yellow press. We see the yellow press is going to kind of encourage the idea that of our culture being superior to others. It's going to bring in the indigenous areas of Latin America and the Pacific, and it's going to make them look inferior. We are going to see the need for trade. After the Gilded Age, we see that our industries have made so much that prices have gone down. They're looking for places to sell their excess resources. They're also looking for places to bring in resources because we kind of depleted them as we move west. We also have fear that the European powers are going to come in and covet this area. We see military-wise, Alfred Thayer Mahan writes The Influence of Sea Power, and he looks at the British, seeing how they're the superior nation because of their navy, that the U.S. needs to build theirs. Also, the closing of the frontier, that we have no other resources, nowhere else to spread democracy. And so this really encourages. We're going to see our first imperial president is McKinley. He will annex Hawaii. We know how Hawaii was attempted to be annexed during the Cleveland administration. They raised a coup against Queen Lulukulani, and Cleveland did not allow for Hawaii to come in at that time because it was wrong that the way they overthrew the Hawaiian people. So Dole creates Hawaii into a republic. Eventually, in McKinley administration, they'll be annexed by joint resolution. We are going to see in Cuba, the Spanish control this area, but the Cubans are rebelling for their own freedom. They're rebelling for this, so Americans feel very sympathetic. We look as Cubans at the Cubans, seeing that they have an oppressive motherland. We had the same history in the American Revolution. We also see that there are many Americans who have sugar fields down there. When these Cuban rebels are burning up the sugar fields, is also leading to our investment troubles. We see that the U.S. will send the Maine out there on just a call just to see what's going on, and then it explodes, and the yellow press gets a hold of this, kind of blaming it on Spain. But we know from what we've read that it was actually an internal combustion in the magazine rack in the ship. So there's a couple of things that the U.S. does to help Cuba. First off, we're going to do the Teller Amendment, that we are going to declare war against Spain, but we ensure we're not annexing Cuba. This little war happens in a year. It's a real quick war. We know a lot of the thing that's pushing it is the yellow press. They get a hold of what's going on with the Maine. They also get a hold of the Delome letter calling McKinley a weak president. We talked about this, of having a backbone of a jelly donut. We see the sinking of the Maine, and also the Butcher-Weiler camps, where we see that the Cuban revolutionaries are being starved, and we looked at their corpses there. So the results of this, it's a very quick war, but the U.S. is going to realize its inadequacies in the war, that we need a strong navy, and we need a canal to be able to get to our Pacific territories, Guam and the Philippines and Hawaii. We realized the weaknesses of our army. We didn't get our horses and to the Rough Riders. We didn't have the right fatigue, so a lot of our men were dying from malaria issues from the mosquitoes versus bullet shots. We see many of our nation's issues from the Civil War race, because we're fighting together versus against each other. Spain lost its empire of Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and Cuba. The U.S. will end its isolation and become a colonial power. We see that we now have the Philippines, we have Guam, and we have Puerto Rico. We're going to take more of an active role and become a world power in Latin America and the Pacific. We will replace Great Britain as the major world power in the Western Hemisphere. We become active in Asia, and we eliminate some diseases that we did in Cuba. The Platt Amendment is going to come right after our time in Cuba, and we basically said that we are going to make Cuba a protectorate. It cannot acquire debt. It cannot have foreign treaties. It has to protect American investment there. And so basically, this is one of the things that's down the road is going to lead to resentments amongst the Cubans. At the end of the war, we signed the Treaty of Paris. The U.S. gets Guam, Puerto Rico, Philippines. We